1700 ESPN Radio. Thank you for joining us for your lunch hour today, Mr. Credit Radio Show. And Mr. Credit is not in today. So JJ here and Art taking over the reins. How you doing, Art?
Hopefully we don't blow it up.
I think we'll do okay. We got some great information. We got a couple great guests as well from the Giltonen Group. David McElveen, Big Mac.
You can just call me Big Mac. All my friends call me Big Mac.
I like that. Big Mac keeps it easy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, we got a lot of things out there right now, and I feel the market. We're on the front lines studying homes and prices every day. And, you know, I've got a lot of good information today, I think, about what's really going on out there on the streets.
That's what we like. We like shooting it straight. Ryan White, how you doing?
Happy to be here.
Good. Thanks for coming in. We got a great show. We're always shooting it straight. We want to give you information to make you smarter than the next guy. We got housing stimulus. Is it coming? Art, is it coming?
Hey, you know, we've been talking a lot about this on the show. Do we need one? You know, I'd like to get some input
Absolutely,
from Ryan
we need one.
and David.
We more than need one. The market right now, from what we see, is I'm not sure this stimulus is actually going to stimulate anything, but it's not bad to have it.
Well, here's one that's being proposed by New York Congressman Gary Ackerman. Pretty much has two prongs. The first one provides matching funds for borrowers to use as down payments with grants of up to $20,000. Basically, they would be forgiven over a 5-year period. And then participation would be limited to the first 2 million eligible first-time home buyers on that side of things. So
2 million home buyers.
2 million home buyers.
I think that could stimulate things.
Yeah, and I think his
2
whole
2 million home buyers. What do you mean by that? Is that nationally?
Yeah, across the U.S.
board.
Yeah, this is a federal housing stimulus proposition that he's proposing. So yeah, it'd be, and I think he's focusing on foreclosed homes. So it would go towards people that were purchasing properties that had been foreclosed. They're bank-owned REOs, as you guys know. So there's one part of it. The other prong is. And we talk a lot about this as well. You know, a lot of the legislation, the laws, the things out there tend to only benefit, you know, the resident home buyer, the you know, the one that only has the one home, and it kind of leaves out the investor. Not a whole lot of benefits to investors.
So this
out
is for
there.
investors too. Is that what?
Yeah. So the second part of it would be. A tax code that would be added to encourage more investor purchases of foreclosures that they would rent out. So the investors would purchase them and then rent them out. The bill would provide a 10-year tax exemption on rental income for the first 1 million home buyers on that side. So you're basically talking about trying to flush out 3 million foreclosed homes, get rid of 3 million foreclosed homes over the next few years.
And we talk about, I mean, you know, we constantly hear in the news, we constantly hear in the marketplace, you guys are all out there, we constantly are talking about the shadow inventory. Millions of homes sitting somewhere in the shadow that could potentially be released to the marketplace, right? So, in essence, this two-pronged proposal could, in fact, help out that shadow inventory by selling it, by giving people money. I mean, we're talking about $20,000, up to $20,000 for eligible first-time home buyers, and you know they're talking about maybe some other, you know, non-restrictions or restriction. And hey, it's a proposal, right? So it's not set in stone, it's not approved. But we've talked about this before, Art. This is something that could drastically help the housing market. And hey, let's give a little piece, a little slice of pie to the investor out there that wants to buy homes and isn't getting anything for it.
JJ, I don't think the investor needs help. I've got REOs. We have no problem selling REOs. I'm confused when I see the government proposing that they're going to give $20,000 stimulus to people that have the money to buy property. I think what they're really saying in this bill is that things are so bad that they have to stimulate things so much that they're willing to give investors money.
I like it. Hey, it is bad, right?
It's bad. I tell you what. I mean, we're on the front lines and we're seeing people out there, and a lot of people are bearing their own cross. We hear a lot of things when we sit down with folks. And there's the high end. The high end, you know, a lot of them are holding their cards close to their chest. There's a lot of suffering out there right now, and we're starting to get out of the summer, and that means that we're going to move into another season. So they were expecting their home to sell during this season. Maybe it didn't sell, maybe it did. But now we're starting to see investors coming out of the woodworks because the stock market's so volatile right now that they're starting to buy property, but they're really picky. I'm seeing a lot of Mexican millionaires. I'm seeing Americans that have lived in Mexico.
The M&Ms, all right. All right, there we go.
I mean, lack of a better way to say it. I mean, Mexican millionaires right now, what's going on down there is they're scared, and they're moving out of there. And so are Americans. And you know what? We have also got a lot of China buyers right now. This whole business about money coming from China, it's real. It's here. It's right now. And these people are shrewd businessmen, and they're negotiating like crazy.
They want deals.
They want deals. They've got
and
cash.
rightfully so, right? When they're paying cash for it. Ryan, what are you seeing out there?
Well, we
Same
saw
thing?
the stimulus plan about 2 years ago. It did the same thing. It was $8,000.
Yeah, we've had a
instead
couple
of
of
20.
them. Yeah.
And it worked great up until it was like June. You had to be in escrow and close by
That's right.
August. And that was great pre-June, but come September, things were dead.
All people
Everybody
did.
had taken their money.
That's
They
right.
scooped it all up. It got everybody off the fence, but there was nobody on deck.
Yeah.
Nobody else on deck. So we saw a big lull after that.
Averaged out, it was the same. There really wasn't a
Yeah.
stimulus, but people rushed to close to get the stimulus.
Get it
But
done.
then what that did was that created a void months afterwards.
Well, I mean, I think that we were also kind of being fed the fact that we were out of the recession. We were coming out of the recession. Our economy was recovering, and we didn't need that anymore. I'm convinced, and
That's right. They thought
you could
that.
agree
That
or
wasn't the
disagree,
case.
but I don't think we've ever got out of the recession. They keep saying
We're
double
not
dip.
out of the recession.
You can't double dip something that never stopped. So you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it definitely helped, and I think we agree, at least most of us do, it sounds like that we agree. Something has to happen. Now how that happens and what is actually ends up being the final product out there, the final stimulus program, it's still up for debate. I like the idea. I got to be honest. I like the idea of including the investors because like we've talked about before, we kind of leave them in the lurch. We don't help them at all. I don't know if we can say only for American investors. I don't think that's going to work out too.
That may not be too PC, right?
And I don't think so. But hey, who knows what can happen? The other part of this is the fact that you're talking. This is probably going to cost over time somewhere between $60 to $80 billion. Cost America. They keep putting that amount of money to the banks. They keep giving that bailout to other people. Why not for once bail us out? Bail out, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner.
Right.
Now, wait a minute now. Tell me again how much money they're proposing for this.
It probably calculates out to somewhere between $60 to $80 billion over a period of time. Over a period of however many years this on the
10 years for investors.
yeah, it's 5 years for one and 10 for the other. So
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. But, I mean, is the money going to where it needs to go to? I mean, in this case, it's going to the consumer. It's going to the people that are going to buy homes, right? And realistically, the housing market, if you're buying a new home, which this isn't going to go to, I mean, new homes create create jobs. When you buy homes that are REOs, they also create jobs. You're giving construction workers. They're they need repair.
Remodelers.
Remodelers. Home Depot is going to win. Lowe's is going to win. People get out there and they spend money. You get your contractor in there redoing your flooring. You get your carpet guy in there. So from an economic stimulus, this is pretty good. I mean, you sell homes, you stimulate the economy,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So $60 billion, $80 billion, hey, the government spends the money one way or another, right? They're spending it. Why not put it back to where it should go? And to me, it's a good deal. I mean, we'll have to keep our eye on this to see where it goes. And Art, I'm in agreement. I mean, the investors are really kind of saving the housing market in some aspect right now. I mean, they're at least buying homes. They're fixing them up. They're flipping them. First-time buyers are buying them. They're creating a marketplace because a lot of buyers aren't going to go in and spend money on a dump because they don't have the money to fix it up.
Well, they don't have the vision
to
see what it can be.
Exactly.
A lot of times they want a turnkey house.
Yeah, so the investors have been huge.
I don't meet buyers that aren't price-driven for the most part. So when someone's out there looking at a property and they see that they can buy an REO or they see they can buy a short sale or distressed asset that is in the price range that they're in, then they'll jump on it and work on fixing it up. If that gets them in a better school district, in a safer neighborhood, I've seen people do that. But then again, I've also seen people that don't have the vision. So there are buyers are all over the place, and I'm I'm surprised to see that we're seeing the government take steps to include investors in this. I'm really confused about this.
So you're against that? I mean, you don't think the investor needs to be included in any fashion? I mean, they're not getting free money; they're just getting a little break on taxes.
And as long as it stays a rental.
Well, I like breaks on taxes.
So I mean, that's so they're not getting cash.
All right,
you got to put yourself in the. Oh, we convinced him.
All right,
look at him.
Yeah.
No.
I don't want to be opposing here.
No, it's okay.
I'm pro transactions. I'm pro stimulation. I'm just a little bit confused because there are a lot of people out there that are seeing opportunity that can't quite get in a home, and I think getting in a home by getting a stimulus from the government is something that a first-time buyer does, something that a younger buyer does, not something that an investor needs to do. But hey, I don't really see a shortage of investors out there right now.
So the tax break is actually on the rental income that they would receive.
Don't have to.
So they wouldn't have to pay taxes on that income.
Mm-hmm. That's big.
They still pay taxes on other stuff they make, right? So
it is big. And realistically, I mean, I look at a lot of taxes. And on a Schedule E, if they're listed as a Schedule E, I mean, the investor, and we talk about this. I mean, it's a tax benefit anyways, for the most part, to have a rental property. I mean, you're gonna have. I mean, you have your rental income coming in, but you can use as a deduction everything that goes with that property: insurance, maintenance, traveling to and from. If you're using a property management company, the fees, property taxes, HOA dues. If you have to put a new roof on it, you can throw that in there, and most importantly, depreciation. So reality is they're getting a tax break anyways. So Big Mac, I mean, I see. Do they need more of a tax break? Maybe not. Maybe the investors will always be there, but it could create even more transactions, more home sales, and I think that will eventually lift the marketplace. If we can get this inventory off out of the shadow, I mean, if there is a shadow inventory.
Well, once you get in San Diego here, if you get much more in terms of price point higher than, let's say, $300 to $350, the stuff doesn't cash flow as it is. So the investors are hovering, I would say, sub $250. And that's the area that really concentrating on. If I don't have to report my rental income, my potential to cash flow property at $400 or $450 grows drastically, which now allows me to purchase in other marketplaces. Could have detrimental effect on first-time home buyers because I got cash and the bank's going to take my offer. But it definitely changes the areas I can look to buy property. I think you said it lasts for 10 years, right?
10 years.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
Most investment properties sell within 10 years. I mean, that's going to cover most people. I think that's going to be enough to
the
at least
life of that investment.
Yeah, it's going to shift. It's going to shift the investment from being only a $250 home or less to up to as much as $450, where in which I can still make money on it.
I think what you're saying is the price point may actually rise
for
because of this for investors, which across the board helps everybody. See, I'm pro helping people that own houses. I'm not so pro helping the banks sell their assets because they sell themselves. The bank, and we have relationships, what happens is the bank looks at the asset and says, okay, what was the last sale? And let's say we say $400,000, and they say, okay, put it on the market for $390. They're not going $410, they're going down. So right now what we see in the marketplace is depreciation for the bank assets. Whereas homeowners we sit down with, and they're looking at how much money they're going to make when they sell the house, and it's very important to them to make more money. In some cases, it may be the difference between short sale and not short sale. So if there's anything out there, I think that taking the focus off of the bank-owned assets and focusing them on more regular transactions to really help the people out there that need the help to get their home sold so they can get out of that financial burden.
Interesting.
Both great perspectives, and really helping the entire housing economy, kind of backdooring it. Right. By helping the investor, you're helping everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's the key. I mean, we're trying to lift the housing market, period. Right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if all this talk of shadow inventory is holding down the marketplace, because I talk to buyers out there, and they go, well, I keep hearing all these houses are coming to the market. House prices have to go down. Mm-hmm. Well, if we're talking about 2 million people that are eligible that could possibly take advantage of the stimulus program, that's going to make a difference, hands down. It's going to make a difference in the market.
Well, this shadow inventory stuff, we've been shadow boxing this for a long time, and frankly, I don't know what to say about it. What I find is that when we receive an asset, it's about 4 months before we can actually bring that asset to the market. And this big, huge influx of inventory that everybody's been talking about, maybe it's out there, maybe it's not. I think the banks are doing a lot right now to help people modify their stuff. They're allowing short sales, and these assets are not necessarily getting to the market. I know of people that manage a lot of property, and the banks are actually going to them and say, we want you to manage our asset. We're not going to sell it right now in this marketplace. So in a way, we would like to think that all of a sudden that there'd be a lot for the investor to buy in these REOs, but I just don't see it. We see a slow, steady REO release, not this big influx that just is going to mess up the marketplace. So if there's someone out there that's waiting for REOs to hit the market because they're going to steal a property, I wouldn't wait.
Stop
I wouldn't
waiting.
wait.
Well, that is great information. We're going to touch more on that. And this is your lunch hour with the Mr. Credit Radio Show. And when we come back, attorneys giving the wrong advice. Uh-oh. Luxury homes. We're going to talk about luxury homes with our guest today, Mr. Credit Inbox. We have some questions. And $1.2 million trillion secret trillion with a T, secret bailout money.
Mr. Credit or get free credit advice. Go to MrCreditRadio.com today. That's MrCreditRadio.com.
Are you trying to decide what to do about your home? Do you feel like you might be upside down on your loan? Hi, Mr. Credit here. I know what might be going through your mind, and the uncertainty alone can be stressful. You know I'm a big fan of the truth, because it helps people make real decisions. Before you start making decisions about your home, you need to find out what it's really worth. Not from one of those online places that are way out of touch with the local market either. All you have to do is call the Mr. Credit Real Estate Helpline to get a free home valuation, a $350 value, absolutely free. 888-951-2929. That's 888-951-2929 to find out the true value of your home today. 100% free. 888-951-2929 or online at MrCreditRadio.com.
Come on, be one step ahead of everybody else. Let Mr. Credit help you. Call 888-951-2929.
Let's say yes to tourism. Imagine a country where children's education is helped by tourism. A country where tourism provides a quality public works system and creates employment.
Imagine that tourism respects nature and becomes a most important source of income.
That is why the federal deputies of all political parties proposed a constitutional amendment to consolidate tourism as a national priority.
Let's talk about tourism.
Deputy Chamber, 61st Legislature.
It's sometimes $800, $900 a month just for unsecured debt credit cards. And yet they're still raising interest rates, and probably because of the new credit card regulations.
We have to understand that loophole in the CARD Act was that if you just make the minimum payment, it gets applied to the lowest interest portion of your balance first. If you have credit card debt and you can only afford to make the minimum payments, you have to start looking and becoming educated about your Chapter 7 bankruptcy options. Make a simple phone call to William McDonald's office. It's 858-437-0103. You can schedule an appointment when it's convenient for you. Find out what your options are. You're not going in there to file for bankruptcy. That's not the way it works. You go in, you become educated, and you see, hey, does this make sense for me financially, me and my family? Are we going to benefit from this significantly, and should we do it? 858-437-0103. 858-437-0103 to get your free consultation with William McDonald. Just tell him Mr. Credit sent you.
This is Lisa with the McDonald Legal Group. We are a debt relief agency. We help people file for bankruptcy relief under the Bankruptcy Code.
For those of us women who work twice as much but only make half as much. For all who believe hope is stronger than fear. For you mothers, wives, and full-time workers who know how to change diapers and how to change the world, New Alliance is for you.
When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was lucky. I had a great job with great insurance. I was going to be okay. But more than 18% of women right here in San Diego County don't have health insurance. Another 34% have deductibles so high they can't get medical care. But that's what Susan G. Komen for the Cure is all about. Every dollar we raise in San Diego County is earmarked to help an uninsured or underinsured woman get diagnosed, treated, and healthy again. Join us. Go to KomenSanDiego.org.
Welcome back. It's your lunch hour with Mr. Credit Radio. JJ and Art are holding down the studio today. We have a couple special guests in. Big Mac and Ryan White from the Giltonen Group.
No nickname for Ryan? RW.
RW. We like it.
His nickname is Rhino.
I'll go by Rhino.
All right, here we go.
So the Giltonen Group is really a luxury home, real estate company. I mean, you see their signs around. They're burgundy with a gold tinge and a big G on them. Silver tinge, and it looks gold. I'm colorblind, so my wife will tell you that. Silver gold, it's all, good metal right now. And interestingly enough, the Giltonen Group has a listing right now for $61 million. Is that right?
That's right, $61 million. If you know where Dog Beach is and the Brigantine, it's that nice big hill right there on the beach in Del Mar.
I know the hill. That's a good spot.
That's right, $61 million.
That's a good spot. We love it.
The price reduction was $12 million, by the way.
What's that?
The price reduction was $12 million.
$12 million. So,
million.
that's a good deal.
What's the record sale in San Diego?
$35 million.
Yeah,
$35 million.
The Giltonen Group has a record sale also.
That would almost double it then if you sell it for... That's awesome.
Yeah, you guys have over 20 years of real estate experience between you, so we're very happy to have you in the studio today. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. I'm going to share a story right now that I really think is going to touch a lot of people, and I'm going to tell it because the call came to me yesterday, and it was disturbing. It was disturbing to me, and there's a lot of people that are in this position right now. So the phone call was from the seller. And it's a high-end home, $1.5 million listing or sale, and they were supposed to close escrow tomorrow. It's a short sale, been listed as a short sale for 6 months. They have a buyer, they have approval, and I get a phone call from the husband, and it's a beautiful family. I know the family. We have kids involved, kids off to college, kids in school here locally. And there was definitely a hardship in the family. Husband had an injury and self-employed, had to stop working. So the income just stopped. I mean, this is a perfect example of a legitimate short sale situation, hardship situation, financial problem, can't stay in the house. They want to stay in the house, but they can't. They haven't been making payments for probably a year. And they got in touch with somebody, listed the house. They worked their tails off to get a buyer in there, which isn't easy. Got the negotiation done on the first loan, the second loan, got the approvals done, have a buyer ready to move in this weekend, supposed to close escrow tomorrow. I get a call and says, you know what, we need some money or something to move. We need more time. We need a couple more days to move. We're canceling. We're just backing out of this deal. We're going to walk away from it. We'll just, stay in the house a couple more months until we get kicked out. Now, I have a problem with this. I have a problem with this because I know the family, and hey, I understand the hardship, but you had 6 months to plan. You had a year. This has been going on for a long time. Mm-hmm. My problem is real estate agents are out there working their tails off, a negotiator is out there negotiating the short sale. They've had the time to prep. They haven't made a payment in a long time. Mm-hmm. They should have money to move. They should be prepared to make these moves at this time. So I want to being real estate agents in the marketplace, I want to get your opinion on something like this because I know people are in that position. It's coming down to the wire. They have to move this week and they have to move next week and they've had their short sale. Now it's time to leave the house. Mm-hmm. It's time to leave the homestead, and they're uncomfortable. They're comfortable in their home. They don't want to pack up. They want to stay where they're at. But how do you counsel them and prepare them that the deal's going to get done? The deal has to get done.
JJ, there's more to this than what you're saying. When I read into this fella, the seller calls you and says, the last hour, I don't want to move, which also says, I'm not prepared to move. I haven't secured a lease. I haven't packed. I'm not in reality. But I also want to look at the real estate agent and wonder, where were they? Why didn't they make sure that this seller was taking preparations to make the move? I mean, I sell real estate, but one of the things that always shocks me is when I walk into the house and they're boxing stuff up. And I'm like, oh, that's right. You guys are moving, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think that an agent should let the seller know that you need to secure housing, what's going on with that, so that this doesn't happen. And maybe this is a rare occasion But, more often than not, people are a little hesitant to move when they're not making any money.
Yeah.
I mean, these folks are doing a short sale. Why would they do it other than the fact that maybe they're saving their credit a little bit? Maybe they wanted to prolong the foreclosure and they threw the house on the market, convinced the bank to continue to allow them to live there while they market it because, they're marketing it. Don't kick me out.
So you're thinking it could have been a plan all along?
It may have been a plan all along.
And these poor buyers that probably had
now
a lease
other people
somewhere.
are involved.
Right.
All right, and this happens a lot of times. The agent, I'm sure that they're counting on the commission. The buyers are making preparations. They're giving notice to where they're living now, and they're packing their stuff, and they're excited about the home, and there's all this emotion. I mean, what about them?
Yeah.
Well, you got this call yesterday, right?
Yep.
What's happened today? Is it canceled yet?
I'm not in the transaction in any possible way.
Mm-hmm.
I led them to speak to an attorney. I mean, we recommend a great attorney, the William McDonald Legal Group, on the program here. They help people out. I mean, maybe a bankruptcy filing is in order for these people, but that's where you need to get the right assistance. I mean, they need to talk to the right people, and maybe you're right, Big Mac. Maybe they didn't have the right agent on their side, giving the proper counseling through the transaction.
Yeah, there's a couple things here we need to look at as well. I've seen this in my office, but not this far into the game. Usually it's closer towards the beginning to the middle of the short sale process. In the 11th hour here, where the seller is saying we're going to pull the plug on it, that is rare. In a normal transaction, you guys know, if a seller tries to back out after the buyer has done everything they're supposed to do, the buyer does have the remedy of specific performance. They can force the sale because they did what they were supposed to do on their end of the contract. Then the seller cannot back out. With the short sale, it kind of muddies the waters a little bit because there is a third party. There is a third party, and so the seller could say, if they don't have a final approval, I don't know how far into it or if they got a final approval.
We're this close to closing, contract signed.
Well, then there might be cause for them to be able to say, we're going to take you to court and force the sale.
Well, a homeowner that's forced to sell through a short sale is afforded a lot of extra rights than one that is selling traditional sale. But I would say more so. You had mentioned he has kids, right?
Yep.
It's my guess it's a game of chicken.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Who's going to get out first?
I'm going to guess that he's threatening to cancel, hoping to get the buyer, the agents, to kick in an extra $5,000, $10,000. He gets it, he's out. I'm willing to bet you that's the case. That is
cash,
right?
A little cash. He can't get it from the bank.
That's right.
But there are ways of getting it to him. Maybe he sells
a little
furniture
here and there,
something like that.
The agents wanting the deal to close. Maybe they throw a bone or something in the deal.
That's what he's after. I can't imagine waiting that long with 3 kids.
He says he needs money to move, right?
Yeah.
That was his opening.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. Maybe that's it. Well, the one thing I want to say is, you need the proper guidance. You need the proper counseling. You need the proper real estate agent when you're involved on the sell side and the buy side of these short sales. If you want to get help, if you need to talk to somebody, I want you to call. It's free. Our real estate helpline. Take this number down. Put it in your phone. If you may need it. You may know someone who needs it. The number, 888-951-2929. 888-951-2929. Real estate helpline. Call if you need a valuation. Whatever you need, it's free. It's free. Give a call. Give the number to somebody you know. It's very important. Attorneys giving the wrong advice? Yeah. Really? Is this really happening?
I guess I ran across this article. Obviously, it started towards the beginning of the year, or back in April, but this is under the category of what? I just shake my head and scratch my head at the same time, trying to figure out how these things can happen. But this guy, attorney Michael T. Pines, advises his clients to break into their foreclosed homes and retake possession. With this,
wow.
You like that?
Prosecutors charged that Pines had been advising an evicted family to retake possession of their home for roughly 2 months. During that process, they stalked and harassed the current occupants, as well as the current occupants' business partners as well. So as a result of this attorney has pretty much lost his ability to practice law. His his
good thing.
His license is involuntarily inactive. I love that term, involuntarily inactive.
Well, that's why you're licensed, after all, right? People are licensed so that they can be pulled. If you do something wrong, pull it,
revoke it, take it away from them, and that's what obviously had to happen here. But we put our my point in this is we look for people to trust, and attorneys are at the top of that list normally.
I mean, doesn't everybody know that you shouldn't move back into a home you were evicted from? Even if the attorney says that, don't you know?
But not only evicted from, but also other people have moved in. It's been sold, and other people have moved in.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, the point is you shouldn't be doing that. You know it's probably wrong. And you got to watch your back. I mean, and we have professionals out there that are giving this advice. When we come back, we're going to talk more about luxury homes. We're going to try to get to the Mr. Credit inbox. We got a couple good questions in there. Short sales, we've just talked about that, and $1.2 trillion in secret bailout money. Will we get to that? It's your lunch hour, Mr. Credit Radio, MrCreditRadio.com.
If you'd like to contact Mr. Credit or get free credit advice, go to MrCreditRadio.com today. That's MrCreditRadio.com.
Do you have negative items on your credit report that you'd like to clean up? Hi, Mr. Credit here. I've helped thousands of people clean up their credit reports and improve their credit scores over the years. And it all starts with some good, honest, and free advice. I recommend mycreditspecialist.com because they do credit repair the right way. That's right. You only pay them once they have achieved your desired results. With mycreditspecialist.com, there is no money up front and no money at all until you get results. That's how it should be, and that's how it's done at mycreditspecialist.com. No need to fight this battle with a toothpick any longer. Just call 888-888-0154. That's 888-888-0154 today. Or go to mycreditspecialist.com. 888-888-0154.
According to the latest census information, 95 out of 100 Mexican children aged 6 to 14 go to school. Are your children among them? In Mexico, everyone counts. 2010 Housing and Population Census, INEGI.
Did you know that 20 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer during your lunch hour today? What if those women don't have health insurance? Who will help them? The answer? Susan G. Komen for the Cure in San Diego. Komen San Diego funds everything from free mammograms and treatments to meal delivery and mortgage payments, everything a San Diegan would need to survive a breast cancer diagnosis. Help us to help them. Join the fight. Go to ComenSanDiego.org and find out how.
Hi, it's Colin Coward. You're listening to ESPN Radio 1700. Catch me weekdays at 7 a.m. ESPN Radio 1700.
Did you hear the federal police captured Jose De Jesus Mendez, a.k.a. the Monkey, leader of his crime family?
Things are going bad.
But they would be worse if no one tried to stop organized crime.
Would they?
Of course. These delinquents would be controlling the entire country.
I didn't think of that.
I am convinced that if the government stands firm, we all are going to live in a safe Mexico.
We work for a safe Mexico for you and your family. Federal government. This program is public, unrelated to any political party, and shall not be used for purposes other than stated in the program.
Do you know what's really going on with your loan modification? Are you sick of getting the runaround from the bank? Hi, Mr. Credit here. I know all too well just how stressful it can be dealing with the bank trying to get a loan modification. The bad news is it's very easy for you to be misinformed and in some cases just flat out lied to. If you want to figure out what's really going on with your loan modification, just call the Mr. Credit Real Estate Helpline at 888-951-2929. That's 888-951-2929, and a local expert will answer all your questions 100% free. 888-951-2929, or you can always contact me directly at MrCreditRadio.com.
Come on, be one step ahead of everybody else. Let Mr. Credit help you. Call 888-951-2929 or online at MrCreditRadio.com.
Welcome back. It's your lunch hour, 1700 ESPN Radio, Mr. Credit Radio Show, MrCreditRadio.com. Feel free to email to the inbox. We are taking questions today. We have a couple to answer. And JJ and Art, the lead instructor for Kaplan Real Estate Education and Manager of Realty Executives, are holding down the fort. Mr. Credit is not with us today, but he will be back tomorrow. So we got a couple great guests in. Big Mac, David McElveen, and Ryan White from the Giltonen Group. And the Giltonen Group, you guys specialize mainly in luxury homes. And I know for a fact that you guys also get bank-owned foreclosures to sell.
Why
you
not?
Get the REOs, right?
Sure.
So you get the assets coming to you. Let's touch base on that. We're always talking about, what's better to buy from a buyer's market. Is it the REO? Is it the short sale? Is it the normal equity sale? I mean,
Depends on the buyer.
Depends on the buyer.
Is the buyer an investor, or is the buyer buying for primary residence?
Let's just say primary residence. I'm looking for my first home.
If you're looking for your first home, I would consider REOs, but for the most part, I would look at everything, because there are homeowners out there that are pricing their homes like REOs, that have homes that are in better condition, that are better buys than some of these REOs. Just because a home says it's an REO doesn't mean that is intrinsically a good deal. Banks are pricing the properties fair. They're not giving them away, but homeowners have to deal with that. They look at what the competition's doing. They look at this REO sale. They look at this other homeowner that gave it away, and they have to decide where to price their home. So when I take buyers out, a lot of times they say, David, I want an REO, and what we end up buying is something that is a traditional transaction or possibly a short sale. But just because it's an REO doesn't mean that that's the one. Don't limit yourself, because a lot of the REOs are trashed. One of the things that bothers me the most about showing REOs is when I walk in there and someone took the kitchen or they vandalized the place.
So that's still happening.
It's still happening. And you know what? I think that people do that. I feel sorry for the people that got foreclosed on. Yes, I do. But I also feel sorry for the fact that they took that kitchen and they put it in the garage of wherever they're moving to. And every time they come home, they relive that nightmare of what happened. My suggestion is, if it's happening to you, put it in, just get through it and put it behind you and move on with your life. Don't tear that kitchen up. Don't sell everything on Craigslist. Just move on. I mean, I went to a estate sale, and I'm walking through this multi-million-dollar house up in Bougainvillea in Carmel Valley, and they're selling the range and the cooktop and the built-in stainless steel refrigerator. Right? I mean,
But they're replacing
I
it
actually
there.
looked at them going, man, I'd like that for my house. But I know that that's part of the
There's a lot of frustration. A lot of frustration. But yeah, like you said, Big Mac, move on with your life.
Yeah.
Guys, move on with your life. You lost it. You weren't able to keep it. It's not going to help anybody to tear apart the house. You're only hurting everybody after you.
Art, are you seeing the same thing out there? I mean, you get to these houses, there's no kitchen, there's holes in the walls, copper wiring still pulled out.
Yeah, I just kind of walk in with my eyes closed these days. I don't want to see that kind of. I do have a question for you guys, though. Obviously there's areas in San Diego County that are harder hit distressed property wise. It's South. We talk about Chula Vista, South Bay, East County, Mira Mesa, Escondido. You guys work, generally speaking, from what you guys are telling me, from La Jolla to Encinitas. What percentage of distressed properties are you seeing in your business and in that area in general?
Well, certainly there are less. The more coastal it has weathered the storm better. I would say there's somewhere in the vicinity of 10 to 15% that are distressed out there.
But there's still opportunities like that. If you want to call them opportunities. But as Big Mac alluded to,
sure,
the people that are selling the properties are still pricing them correctly because that's their competition.
Well, here's the important thing. When you talk about what a buyer should be looking at, like David said, we're approached all the time with a buyer saying, I want to buy an REO. And the assumption is that they're going to get a better deal. But what's most important really is the financing, because most buyers get their money for a down payment from selling another house. If you're a first-time home buyer, that's a luxury you don't have, right? So that means you're putting very little down, which means you're FHA, VA, or some hybrid loan program that's non-conventional. And that's going to limit the buildings that you're able to buy in, and that's going to put you on the lower end of the list for everybody else that has made an offer on a property. Okay. If you're coming up against cash offers, you're going to lose every time.
Yeah, cash is king.
Always going to take the cash offer.
Not always. Not always.
Most of the time.
If the cash offer is too low or not within $5,000 of a regular offer, I don't think that it's going to get taken.
Accepted, yeah.
Right? Well, assuming they're the same price, of course.
Okay, well, assuming they're the same price.
Yes.
Okay,
same price. So we got a $500,000 offer, $500,000 offer. One is cash, can close in 10 days. Bam. Bank's taking that offer.
Well,
I mean, most likely.
Yeah, most likely they
Even
are
a traditional seller is probably going to take the cash offer.
Most likely.
So not only that, if most REOs are going to need some work, and if you're buying something FHA, you can't afford an extra $30,000 in repairs. So you may be stuck with buying something that's more turnkey, off the market, traditional sale. And I think the financing that is in place is a very important part as to where you should be looking.
Hey, JJ, let me ask you, is every FHA buyer cash poor?
No, they're not, actually. I mean, and we may see a little switch in this scenario because with FHA loan limits dropping from $697,500 to $546,250, at least in San Diego County, we're going to see a little dynamic change because you've had some really good buyers in the, buying 700,000 plus homes, and they're coming in with 3.5% or 5% down. Because they don't want to use their equity, or they're not selling. They're not selling.
They're giving away money right now.
They are.
Why wouldn't you get a loan?
Yeah, if you're going to get 4.25% on $700,000 on a 30-year fixed.
In fact,
hey,
most cash buyers are buying for cash so they can get a better deal, and they're turning around and refinancing because money is so cheap, and they're taking that money and buying something else for cash.
Interesting. And that's the you're talking about more the investor.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's all cash.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the question, Art, is it's FHA. There's a lot of good buyers out there, but we're not seeing people selling their homes to get the equity that they have and rolling it into their new house because they may want to hang on, or the rental market is so dang good right now for landlords. So strong.
It is so hot right now.
You can keep your house, kind of cash flow it depending on what the scenario is. Buy something else with 3.5% down. Now you have two homes. Now you've just diversified your portfolio into two, and that's a pretty good move. I mean, that's a strong real estate move.
I mean, the stigma on FHA is usually they're first-time home buyers. They have credit challenges. They don't have any money. So when they're putting their offers in, as Ryan was talking about, they're in the lower tier.
Right.
And we have to find out a way to get the word out to the sellers, the banks, whoever making the decision. These guys are just as strong as anybody else. They've just chosen the FHA route for other reasons.
Right.
They're still really, really strong.
Yeah, I mean, recently I closed a transaction with a family that actually used 10% down just because the numbers penciled out better for them interest rate-wise, mortgage insurance-wise, total payment-wise, than going conventional. I mean, it's just one of those things. So, I mean, 10% down is a pretty strong offer. It's just what the loan program that they chose. And it's true. I mean, FHA is not what it once was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It's a different product. Appraisals are different. They're not scrutinized as much by the underwriters. There's actually more lenient underwriting guidelines as far as debt to income ratios. So if you do have somebody holding on to a house, buying another house,
it might be the route to go.
It might be the route to go, depending on debt to income ratio.
FHA is okay.
All right. That's what we're going to say now.
FHA is okay.
We got a new motto.
Yeah, FHA is okay. Now, so are you guys seeing, I mean, in your marketplace, I mean, are you seeing more move-up buyers? I mean, is that... Or are you seeing
move down?
Move down.
Yeah, right now what people are doing is this mantra of take what you need and nothing more is really, I feel it right now. I see a lot of big sellers that are they're in these monster homes and are thinking to themselves, why did I do this? Why am I here? I don't need this much home. I have to work. My life is slipping away because I'm trying to make this payment. And meanwhile, I'm losing equity. I just want to simplify my life. And I want to downsize to something that's more manageable. So when we're talking about the high end, a lot of times the high end folks are having a tough go at it right now. I mean, if we look at the actual sales prices of the high end, off of the sales prices of the high end in 2005, we're darn close to, 40% off?
Wow, that's big. 40%.
40% is a huge number from what is sold for in 2005 and what you're selling for right now. And when we look at the dynamics of the beachfront or the coastal communities versus some of those outer perimeter areas, and we look at the outer perimeters are 50 and sometimes 60% off, and we're looking at the coastal communities at 40% off. I mean, the market right now is all in.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I want to give a quick market update. The Dow is up 130 points. S&P is not doing quite so well, but still up 1.5% almost. People that haven't locked their interest rate, I want to warn you, you might be surprised when you talk to your loan officer because the 10-year bond is up 12 basis points, and you may have lost a little ground on your interest rate. Don't wait. Lock your rate. I like that one, too. Don't wait, lock your rate. Just came up with that. That was fast.
A lot of poetry happening in this room today.
When we come back, Mr. Credit Inbox, $1.2 trillion in secret bailout money to the banks. Could be good. This is your lunch hour. Mr. Credit Radio, MrCreditRadio.com.
If you'd like to contact Mr. Credit or get free credit advice, go to MrCreditRadio.com today. That's MrCreditRadio.com.
Well, there's no doubt about it. The government is desperately trying to raise revenues, and they are looking to get as much of it as possible from you. If you don't have a CPA that you trust, that you know is saving you money, and actually takes the time to plan with you to minimize the amount of taxes you pay every year, then I need to introduce you to Steve the CPA. Go to mysdcpa.com and check it out. Especially if you're considering a short sale or foreclosure this year, it's crucial to do tax planning. Go to mysdcpa.com or call Steve, 858-381-5290. The laws created to help people with this do not apply to everyone. Don't get snake bitten by the IRS. Take action today. Go to mysdcpa.com or call Steve, 858-381-5290. That's 858-381-5290 or online, mysdcpa.com or call Steve, 858-381-5290.
Para resultados y más información acerca de este programa, consultar la página espnradio1700.com.
Your mother, daughter, sister, or friend. Did you know that a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer every 3 minutes? Susan G. Komen for the Cure is funding everything from free mammograms and treatments to meal delivery and mortgage payments. Everything a San Diegan would need to survive a breast cancer diagnosis. Please support the women in your life by joining Komen for the Cure on our mission to end this disease. To learn about Komen San Diego, go to KomenSanDiego.org.
XEPN 700 AM, Baja California. Hi, it's Colin Coward. You're listening to ESPN Radio 1700. Catch me weekdays at 7 a.m. ESPN Radio 1700.
Huge opportunity right now. Let me tell you about this. Do you know how much money you can save in today's low-rate environment by refinancing your home? Mortgage rates are actually so low that many are able to purchase a home for a payment that's less than their current rent. It's very simple to find out how much you can save by calling the only person I trust with my mortgage questions, John Girotes with Guaranteed Rate, JJ, right here in San Diego, 760-522-2298. JJ has been in San Diego for 21 years. He went to San Diego State. He bleeds Chargers and Padres blue. But most importantly, he is 100% trustworthy. If you want a mortgage professional you can trust to save you the most money, JJ is easy to reach. 760-522-2298. That's 760-522-2298 or online at AskJJNow.com. AskJJNow.com.
Welcome back. 1700 ESPN, Mr. Credit Radio Show. Mr. Credit is not with us today, but JJ and Art are holding down the fort. It's your lunch hour.
Still standing.
Still standing here, huh? Well, you know, we have a couple questions. We have a couple great guests in here today from the Giltonen Group, Big Mac and Ryan White. And I want to get your opinion on these. We got a great question from Peter M. And if you want to shoot a question over, MrCreditRadio.com, send it to the inbox. We'll get to him. Here is question. We purchased our home in 2008 for $565 when we thought values had dropped to the lows. Well, a lot of people thought they dropped to the lows in 08, right? I mean, markets went down. Interest rates were good. We put a 10% down payment on the house and have made some upgrades to the home. So they've put some money into it. It seems with a couple of foreclosures in the area, not surprising, our home might be worth only around $475. We hate to give up the house, but seem like we are chasing the lost down payment to no return. Should we do a short sale? Peter M. Thank you, Peter, for the email here. I don't know, Art. What do you think? I mean, here they are. They're so they're into it for $56,000. Put some money, probably. Let's say they put $25,000 into it. I mean, they're at $475 now, minus commissions and sales fees. So they're going to net maybe about $435, $440. Are they chasing a dream? I mean, what's your suggestion here?
Yeah, I'd love to talk to these guys. There's so many other things to consider, but. It's more than just being upside down, right? I mean, upside down is definitely a hard pill to swallow, and that's one of the things that homeowners are facing more and more all the time. And the reality of that situation that, but do they have a family? Are they going to have to uproot their family? Are the kids ingrained in that neighborhood, in the school system? And, they're going to, there's so many other things. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get that value back. It might be 10 years.
Yeah, it could. I mean, to get 20%, I mean, really, it's like 20% back now that they got to get back, just to, if not more, just to kind of become whole.
Just to get back.
I mean,
to even.
I just don't know if that's a good proposition. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, assuming that they would go out and rent a property, if they short sold this one, I would take a hard look at what it's going to cost me to rent that property. It's, it's very common that the payment on the mortgage may be very, very close to what they're going to pay if they go out and rent. And there's always potential for a modification. Keeping the kids in the same school district has a lot of value. Really take a hard look at what my payment is now and what it would be if I did rent.
Yeah,
yeah. I would look at it financially, because if you do a short sale, your credit will be damaged. So you can't turn around and buy a house right now with essentially a negotiated for less than was owed transaction. If you try to do a loan modification, is it reality or is it a dream? Dream or reality, right?
We see more dream on the loan modification than we see reality, that's for sure. So
even a loan modification will likely damage your credit because they won't listen unless you're late for the most part.
Yeah.
So it is a tough spot. I would say if you can hang on, that I would. If you find that your payment, your mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payment is higher than what it would cost you to rent the same house, then I might seriously consider it. I mean, there's more to this, and we would need to talk to someone, to find out.
There's always more to the questions that we don't, people don't give us the whole question.
And can you afford it?
Yeah, can you afford it? Oh. And, here's a perfect situation. If you need help, you need answers, call the real estate helpline. It's free. Give you the number, put in your phone, give it to somebody who needs it. 888-951-2929. 888-951-2929. I'm going to tell you what I think for Peter here. I think if you're planning on staying in the house, you have kids entrenched in the neighborhood, like you guys said, school district's important, they're already there, you can afford the payment, maybe hang on, right? Maybe hang on. But do a short sale, get out of the house, you're back in the market in a couple years, right? Get something that probably is more affordable. You start over, save a down payment. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, we're only talking a couple years. Wait, you're back in the game.
Looking at minimum of 3 years to get a loan again?
FHA, 2 years. I mean, don't miss a payment. Try to do the short sale without missing a payment. I mean, there's
other ways to show hardship other than missing the payment on the mortgage.
Yeah, so I mean, get back in the game. I'm not an advocate of walking away from a house or doing a short sale, but if it doesn't make sense financially, maybe it's time.
If it turns out they've already missed a mortgage payment, the answer would be different.
That's a whole different story, yeah.
But if they're current and they can afford it, they love being there, then wow, it is
a tough one.
It is something that I go back and forth on because there is an obligation. You guys know how I feel about this, JJ. There is a certain obligation when I sign a promissory note that I think that I have that obligation to that bank.
Yeah.
However, I also have an obligation to my family first and foremost, and I need to take care of number one.
And that's that's a great point because we talk about mental health on the Mr. Credit Radio Show all the time. If this is something, Peter, that you're thinking about, it's driving you down mentally, you're stressed about it all the time, you got to talk to somebody. You got to talk to a professional. You got to talk to somebody that knows short sales. And that's why you need the real estate helpline. Call. We'll get it figured out. You just got to talk it out. But get your mental health on board.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for Mr. Credit Inbox, sponsored by Tycor Title, where the pros go. Art, I want to touch on this. $1.2 trillion in secret bailout money. What is that all about? Tell me about it.
Did you guys see this over the weekend? Bloomberg reporters Bradley Cohn and Phil Kuntz cataloged the Fed's $1.2 trillion in secret, quote unquote, secret loans to banks, including the usual suspects like, you guessed it, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, with Citigroup and Bank of America taking in more than $90 billion each in public money to finance their operations. So pretty interesting, because this is above and beyond the $700 billion stimulus bailout back in 2008, right?
So this is something we don't even know about.
2009.
We don't even know about this. This is secret.
This is money. And from what I understand, and you hear different reports, the more I dig into, in order to get this money, it's basically like it was like a one-page stated income, stated asset type of application. Easier to get this type of money from the feds than to finance a mattress at a bedding store.
Don't the banks kind of have the government, in a corner? Because they've got all the mortgages for the rest of everybody in the world here in our world.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey, we need help, and the government's like, well, we can't really allow you to go down.
It's true. How many more banks can fail? And the big ones can't, right? You like to think can the last few standing large banks, can they fail?
You know what? JJ, I don't know. At this point, I would say that maybe we let them fail.
Wow.
Maybe we let them fail. Maybe we see what happens. I mean, we're this country's living in the fear of, oh my God, we can't let the banks fail.
We can't be without Bank of America.
Giving them money.
They're not my bank.
Giving them money.
Get them out of here.
So there's a lot of new programs out there that, back to this loan modification, short sale, not short sale type of thing, is that some people are actually taking litigation to their bank and forcing them to produce documents. And if they can find a flaw in that document, they're actually getting the banks to reduce the principal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've seen this done?
Yes, we have seen this done.
Seconds, primarily.
Really?
Yeah, mostly seconds.
Seconds.
So if you've got a first and a second, and you go to litigation with the banks, and you say, I need you to produce original documents, I need you to produce my signature, and just let's do a forensic analysis on the loan and find out now that you find that if there's something wrong that went wrong during that transaction, now all of a sudden you've got lending fraud. And then you go after the bank saying, look, I want to keep this thing together. I just need you to reduce this to, say, a fair market value. So now all of a sudden we get the banks to reduce the principal on that loan, and now the homeowner can actually sell that property.
Wow.
And actually make money.
That's a great deal.
But
that's a great deal. So you're primarily seeing it on second lien holders.
Success stories? I mean, you've seen firsthand?
Yeah. There's some smoke out there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
sure.
A lot of smoke. Like, remember, there was a lot of smoke about loan modifications.
Right.
Like,
there's
hey,
always smoke.
Well, then there's starting to be a little bit of fire. We're starting to see that this is happening. And I've been to meetings where people are suggesting that this is what they're doing, this is what's working. And, there's a lot of it's going on in Las Vegas right now. Like, I hear that, 1 out of 4 commercials is, about bringing litigation to your bank. So it's starting to be one of those things that is an option for the homeowner.
Interesting. Well,
much better advice than moving back into your foreclosed home.
Yeah, much better advice than that. And, realistically, hey, we all know, loan modifications are a shot in the dark. You just don't know if they're going to happen.
I have seen people get them, but I've also had people say, it just about killed me.
Right, yeah. No, definitely. And I have the success stories personally.
Not only that,
but it's far and few between.
Some of the loan modifications that are offered to the homeowner are not really good loan offers.
Right.
For example, they might say, well, we'll reduce your payment down to something that's manageable, but we're going to put the difference between what you would have paid us and what you're paying on the back end. So every month now, your principal goes up. So what kind of loan modification is that? That's still saying, hey, the iceberg's out there. You're going to hit it because every month that principal goes up, and eventually the market's going to come back. But then you got to hold that property so much longer to break even that it doesn't make sense.
Right. That's awesome. I hope more people get help reducing their principal balances. That's what we need. We need stimulus money. We covered a lot of good things today. Mr. Credit Radio, it's your lunch hour, 1700 ESPN. Thank you for joining us for this lunch hour. We'll see you soon.